Joining us on the phone lines now, he talked to Roger Weiland and Zach By every Friday during the football season. He joins us now this morning. I know, Brian, you bumped into him during the semifinals, the Nico Clarith game. Yeah, it is Freddie Coleman. Freddie Coleman, make sure to check him. Freddie and Fitz, 11 to 2 a.m. right here on ESPN Radio 104.5. Team Freddie, it's Tom Goslowski, Brian Mariano. Thanks for joining us this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. How's everybody in the Capital District today?
We're doing great. Thanks for asking. And we'll ask this question. I know Brian saw you in attendance there. What did you make of that semifinal performance by Nico Clarith and the Siena Saints inside the Times Union Center?
I can't remember a shooting performance like that probably in about 15 years. I think the last time I saw something like that was what Dwayne Archbold did, and he did it over 4 nights for Siena when they were the bottom seed, and they kept knocking off top seeds when they played in that tournament, got to the NCAA tournament. But it's one thing to do that over 4 days. You get hot, those things happen. But a guy that nobody was even thinking of, in Nico Clarith, and going out there after having that bum ankle and not playing practically at all in the first half, and then in 17 minutes, you score 27 points and help your team eliminate that kind of deficit, being down 17 points at that time, and for everything that has gone on with him. And Jimmy Patso, the head coach, said it best. He says, I love him, but at a certain point, either I'm going to kill him or he's going to kill me. We'll see what happens. Well, he was lucky for him that Nico Clarith wound up killing Monmouth with his just tremendous play, his energy. He was getting rebounds. It is one of the best performances I have seen in a short amount of time in the MAC tournament in all the years I've been covering the league.
So now, Freddie, you go from that game Sunday night to last night's game, which was a thriller in its own right. Iona wins by a point, but Siena seemed as if they could only keep battling back and never actually go by. What did you make of the MAC final game last night?
I'll tell you this. As epic as the semifinal was, I said, okay, Iona-Siena is going to be a good game, but there's no way that that's going to top the semifinal. And it did, and it had nothing to do with the overtime. It was just a whole back and forth where you never felt comfortable whoever had the lead. Even when Iona went up by a good amount in the second half, I just kept saying to myself, this game is far from over. And Siena, they had that opportunity where they had free throws, and they were able to have a chance to maybe win the game at the end. And then also you have Iona with their stick-to-itiveness getting back in and making those three-pointers. But then the 4 seniors of Siena, those 4 guys that have scored 1,000 points each, they would not let this team die and go away quietly. It was just one of those championship games that years from now we're going to look back and say, man, that was some kind of basketball over a 24-hour-plus period. We had 2 of those great games involving Siena, playing one team, knocking them out of the tournament of Monmouth, and coming that close to doing the same thing to an Iona team that has now made it back-to-back championships in the MAC.
Joining us here on Big Board Sports, it's Freddie Coleman. Make sure to check him out on Freddie and Fitz, 11 to 2 a.m. right here on ESPN Radio 104.5. The team and Freddie, one fan base that's a bit upset is the Monmouth Hawk fan base because they believe, look, we won the regular season conference for a second consecutive season. We should at least be in the mix for the NCAA tournament, but because of conference tournaments, that makes that much more difficult for Monmouth. Do you believe college basketball should continue with the conference tournaments, or should that conference regular season champion be rewarded that spot in the overall NCAA tournament?
Well, I think they should continue with the conference tournament championship because, put it this way, if you didn't have that, a lot of these teams that win the regular season championship would really get a lot of poor seeds. And a lot of people don't have a chance to watch conference regular season basketball in the bottom conferences, which is a shame because the power conferences have done everything they can to maximize the most for them and the least for anybody else that's not in the ACC, the Big East, the Big 12, et cetera. So I think a conference tournament championship is necessary, especially if you're a team from a smaller conference where a lot of people don't get a chance to know who you are. And I understand the argument for Monmouth that, hey, we won the regular season championship, but you know what you've gotten into. This is the business that you chose and the conference you decided to be in because you had no choice. So for Monmouth to complain about it now, and last year they had an argument. They should have been in the NCAA tournament. They got screwed by the tournament selection committee. I thought it was a joke that they were not among the 68 teams in the NCAA tournament. This year, they clearly understood that if they didn't win, they were not going to get in. Let's give a lot of credit to Siena because, let's be honest, if you're Monmouth, you're the number 1 seed, you have a 17-point lead with 17 minutes to play. You can't lose that lead. You can't blame anybody else or anything else. You had a 17-point lead as the top seed against Siena, a team that you beat twice in the regular season, a team that you beat by 20 points at the Times Union Center not too long ago. If you can't hold on to a 17-point lead as a number 1 seed in the second half, then you know what? You deserve to go to the NIT, and then you can't complain about this is unfair when you had a 17-point lead and you let that get away in the semifinals of your own conference tournament.
See, now, Freddie, we both sat through that press conference with Jimmy Patsos after that game, and he advocated for King Rice and the Monmouth team to get in because of how good their non-conference schedule was. A lot of complaining wasn't only from them, but Iona as well, because these conference tournaments, especially the MAC, is played on not Sienna's home court, but in their home arena. Do you have an issue at all with any of these tournaments being played at the host sites for the teams in the conference?
No, because here's why I don't have a problem with it. Why all the complaining now? They're complaining about this, and Siena hasn't won the tournament the last 2 years.
Right.
So I don't get the complaints. It's one thing if Siena has had the conference tournament on their home court every year, let's say for the last 7 years, and they won it 7 straight times. At a certain point, you got to say, look, that is way too much of an advantage for Siena. We got to move the conference tournament away. I love when people complain about stuff when it doesn't make any sense because Siena has not won the conference tournament religiously. Now, when Fran McCaffrey was there, they were on such a great run. They could have played those games in the parking lot, and nobody was going to beat Siena in the conference tournaments when Fran McCaffrey had it rolling. But this is no time to complain about it now when your Monmouth, you had a 17-point lead, and you didn't win. And Iona, you won the conference tournament in Albany the last couple of years. If you don't like the fact that you want people at your conference tournament, then fine. Just play it on-campus arenas like the Patriot League does, like the Northeast Tournament does. But Albany is a central spot for so many teams and so many of their fans that want to come and hang out and enjoy the ambiance. As far as I'm concerned, the conference tournament every year should be held in Albany. That's been the best place for it. People don't go to games in Buffalo. People don't want to go to games in Bridgeport. And people don't go to games in Springfield, Massachusetts. So why do you take away a fan experience in a city like that just because you're worried about people getting upset because Siena has home court advantage? They haven't won the conference tournament in Albany the last 2 years. I don't get the complaining when the end result has told me otherwise when it comes to that.
He is Freddie Coleman, Freddie and Fitz, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. right here on ESPN Radio 104.5, the team. And I'm going to swing to the NBA because last night I'm driving home from the Times Union Center and Ian Fitzsimmons became Dr. Ian Fitzsimmons and was describing the Andrew Bogut injury as snap, crackle, and pop and a Rice Krispie treat overall there. But you had an interesting point about LeBron James and how LeBron still, almost now over a decade into the NBA, can't dodge the criticism when it comes to even having players added to his roster.
Yeah, here's the one thing with LeBron, no matter what he does, and believe me, we should all want our superstars to be like him, because how many times has LeBron James been in any kind of trouble off the court? Zero. How many times has LeBron James been bad for the NBA? Zero. He has never been bad for the NBA. I think a lot of people knew that he was anointed as the chosen one when he came out of high school, and plenty of people wanted him to fail, and he hasn't failed. If anything, he's been greater than anybody could have imagined, where he's been this generation's greatest player. He now has that moniker. Even though Kobe Bryant has more championships, LeBron James has been a better player. But I've never seen a superstar unable to escape criticism no matter what he does. I've never seen that in all the years I've followed sports and love sports. I mean, I know it's different. You got social media. Who knows how social media would have reacted to Michael Jordan when he played, or Charles Barkley when he played, Joe Montana, the other greats of the game. But it seems that no matter what he does, there's always going to be a person or a faction of people that are going to find fault with it. And my answer to that, when people feel that way, is you're really going to miss him when he's not here. You're going to look back and say, man, that was a bad dude right there. And he was doing things in the basketball court that we're probably not going to see with a guy at his size and his ability, what he's able to do athletically and being a basketball savant. I've never been able to understand it, but then again, gentlemen, there's some things that I don't understand, but I never question it because that's how people feel. But I know when that guy finally retires, it's going to be a sad day for me because we're not going to see his like for a long, long time, if ever, in the NBA.
Now, Freddie, we've had a lot of hope around here in the Capital Region since we don't have a lot of pro ball. We have Siena and, of course, Albany making it to the America East Final. But what is going on with my Knicks, man? Like this, I've had so many years of just pure disappointment. I think I don't know if I can take any more of this.
Welcome to my world, number one, because the last time the Knicks won an NBA championship, I think gas was free in this country. That's how long it's been since the Knicks. And we always hear the old adage, guys, that it starts at the top. It's not just a cliche. It's the truth with the New York Knicks, because when you have an owner who really doesn't care to me about winning a championship because his franchise is valued at $3.3 billion, they're the most valuable franchise in the NBA. When you're James Dolan and you know that no matter what, people are still going to pack your arena, people are still going to pay those prices to see your basketball team, they can complain about it all they want, but James Dolan will say, that's on you because you paid for the ticket. When you have that kind of scenario, you're going to get what you get. And I give James Dolan credit for this. At least he tried to bring somebody in at Phil Jackson to see if he could turn things around. But James Dolan has a nasty habit of keeping mistakes in the building just a little bit too long. If by year 3 we have not seen any kind of progress from the New York Knicks, we haven't seen it at year 3 of Phil Jackson, at a certain point, when does James Dolan say this is not going to work? But he's also on the hook for $12 million per year that Phil Jackson is going to get, whether he runs the Knicks or he does not run the Knicks. So he has no choice but to stay with him unless Phil Jackson quits. It's been the same thing over and over and over ever since Pat Riley decided to go to Miami and take over that organization. We've seen what they've done with him, and we see what the Knicks have not done ever since he decided that, hey, I can't work for this organization anymore because I want the keys to the kingdom because I know what I'm doing. We've seen what he did in Miami, 3 championships, and the Knicks are still looking for that first championship since 1973.
He is Freddie Coleman. Make sure to check him out 11 o'clock to 2 a.m. right here on 104.5 The Team. Freddie, next time you're in the Capital Region, you let us know. It was great catching up, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Freddie.
You guys got that. I'll definitely let you guys know. We'll get together, okay?